Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever the case may be. Welcome to This Week in Random on Blacklist Universe. I am your host, Mike S. Miller. Like, subscribe, share, subscribe, do all that stuff, and then don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for being here. I know I just did a Dave Chappelle video, but it got a lot of traction, and and I think it may have gotten a little too political, or maybe not a little too political, but it did certainly get political. And I was just kind of cruising around the internet reading stuff on Dave Chappelle, and I stumbled onto this article, and I thought it made some rather good points, so I figured I would entertain you all by going through this. Unilad, from Unilad. Dave Chappelle Sticks and Stones. It doesn't matter what I think, it's comedy. Dave Chappelle is back doing what Dave Chappelle does best, and that is making jokes. It feels necessary to clarify the above point, and to highlight Chappelle's latest special is in fact a stand-up act, and not a TED Talk, as some members of the media and public seemingly require. 2 years on from The Bird Revelation and Equanimity, Sticks and Stones dropped on Netflix this week, and the reception has ranged from fiercely loyal appreciation to knee-jerk virtue signaling. I'm not going to spoil any of the jokes for you myself. Netflix can do that for you in the trailers. So let's watch this real quick. I sped through the advertisement for you.
This is Dave. He tells jokes for a living. Hopefully he makes people laugh. But these days it's a high-stakes game. How did we get here, I wonder?
Man, that's a long t-shirt.
I don't mean that metaphorically. I'm really asking, how did Dave get here? I mean, what the fuck is this? But what do I know? I'm just Morgan Freeman. Anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you say anything, you risk everything. But if that's the way it's gotta be, okay, fine, fuck it. He's back, folks.
Aptly named. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. For those of you who are too dense to realize that's why it's called Sticks and Stones, it's because this entire generation apparently has forgotten that childhood saying, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But today, in our world, words hurt so much. They hurt me. And I can't. So if your words hurt me, I must destroy you. I must take away your ability to make a living at your chosen profession, because your words, they hurt me. They melted me like a little snowflake in the hot summer sun. It reminds me of the song from Frozen. Sorry, my kids love that song. What is it? No, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to go into it. I'll probably get a copyright strike by Disney anyways. Anyhow, back to the article. What I will say is, Chappelle takes on a range of topics which are no strangers to his repertoire, but his takes on the incorporation of important movements that can exist independently, or as one under the LGBTQ plus banner, gun reform, #MeToo, alleged pedophilia in the music industry, and the opioid crisis, don't flop as stale rehashes. They are jokes relevant to society. If we can't laugh at everything, then we really shouldn't laugh at anything. Those are the two options available to people who genuinely believe in equality. While I don't know about you, far too much of this tragic life is funny to me to plump for option B. I think this guy's British because he speaks in a way that well, I didn't know about you. Far too much of this tragic life is funny to me to plump for option B. Yeah, that sounds better in British, doesn't it? Or in with the British accent. Yeah, I lamented on the other video how comedians won't go, and Dave Chappelle said it in his show. They won't go. They won't do comedy. They won't go to college campuses because they'll get riots of people, literally, like throwing freaking Molotov cocktails, because people will say things that hurt their widow feelings. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. If you haven't seen the other video, if you want a more in-depth view on how this is all cultural Marxism run amok, and it's all part of the plan, then maybe go check that video out. It's my previous This Week in Random from a couple days ago. The misconception I've read in a few reviews are that Chappelle takes aim at demographics who are struggling for acceptance, in particular the trans community, but that's spun on its head quite easily. It's not taking aim, in my own opinion, in its conclusion and the highlighting of struggles through a medium that is well equipped to disarm bigotry by laughing at it, not with. And I've been saying this forever. Like, Blazing Saddles did more to fight racism, possibly, than Martin Luther King did, right? Because it took the power away from the racists. It mocked and it ridiculed the very idea of racism, the very idea that a black man cannot be a strong, leader, who cannot be the smart guy in the room. It just completely demolished all of these stereotypes, and it mocked racism while it was doing it. And it made a black dude in, 71? 72? It made a black man the hero of a blockbuster movie in a way that wasn't blaxploitation. This wasn't Shaft, right? This wasn't Leroy Jones. This was an articulate, intelligent black man facing against an entire community of racist white people, which in and of itself, but it elevated him not through bitterness and anger and vitriol, but out of humor, ridicule, jokes. This is what we have lost in this country, and God bless Dave Chappelle for standing up and doing this and taking it back. This might be the second greatest thing since Blazing Saddles to fight this fight. Chappelle, a man who walked away from one of Comedy Central's most successful shows, spent years in the wilderness before returning to explain that voyage, while still being true to himself, is accused of doubling down on his views as if he were presenting a manifesto to create a new world order. Critiques that he has lost his way or comic touch are equally misguided. This is ridiculous. If you go to Rotten Tomatoes, these critics, these effete, elitist, egalitarian critics have given it like a 14%, right? And then if you look at the audience score, it's 99%. It is almost unanimous among viewers that this is one of the greatest comedy specials of all time. You can watch it for yourself and make your own opinions. I'm not telling you whether or not you should like it. I'm just saying that it's obvious that the critique class, the ones who are the gatekeepers of what is politically correct and morally righteous in the world today, do not want people like Chappelle standing up and mocking their political agenda. It's not just political correctness. It's not. It is political agenda. And that it is scaring the crap out of comedians around this country. Comedians, actors, everyone. I even know a comic book writer who, when the Me Too thing started happening, he's like scared, not because he's done anything wrong, but because he's done stuff that's, let's just say, outside of the norm. He's like, I'm afraid they're gonna freaking come after me for just being a little, I guess the word's kinky, but he didn't do anything illegal, so don't worry about it. That's not what it is. But or he didn't even do anything. Well, I'll just leave it at that. critiques that... Oh, yeah. Society evolving to promote respect or tolerance of harmless individual choice is certainly not a bad thing and ought to be encouraged to keep moving in a positive direction. Society policing free speech around these topics is a different matter. Yeah, it's soft shoe. It's a soft shoe version of fascism, point blank. This is fascism light. Fascism without the gun. And in my other video, I explained why you don't want these people getting the power of the gun. Anyways, free speech is, of course, the first line of defense for a bigot. But there is a big difference in free speech for comedic purposes and politically motivated hate speech crafted to resist positive change and spread ignorance. The latter is arguably born out of a fear to evolve and a desire to not to be isolated. The former, the ability to recognize change and discuss the challenge of breaking down prejudice, including your own. As I was right. As we in the UK have learned from the insufferable level of Brexit chat, you don't get people to move on an opinion by screaming, "You're wrong," or "I didn't ask you to be born." That is terrible British accent. In their faces. Oh my gosh, I was watching a bunch of the Brexit politicians yelling at each other today. That stuff is comedy gold. I should do a video just on that. But at any rate, Brexit is a big topic as well right now. Comedy, meanwhile, when successful, can deliver fresh concepts to people who are open to listening, but you have to be open to listening as a prerequisite, which these snowflake SJWs are obviously unwilling to do. Thankfully, I really believe they are in the minority. Unfortunately, they are the loudest, most obnoxious minority in the world, and therefore, as the squeaky wheel gets the grease, they do get a lot of the attention. But should we just ignore them? I don't have an answer. Should you dare to form an opinion for yourself, the special includes an epilogue which is worth sitting through the credits for. Oh, I didn't sit through the credits. Something new. Chappelle allows audience members to address him directly in a Q&A while also, oh man, I gotta check that out. Maybe I could do another video on it. Also providing anecdotes which contextualize the formation of his comedy. I found it refreshing. Some may argue contrived. But what is undeniable is he's a man open to being challenged himself, so negative reviews are likely immaterial. He understands his intent, and doing harm is not on the agenda. Good comedians, and let me just do that so you can see. Good comedians can tell bad jokes, but the appropriate response isn't to censor or demand cancellation. It's to not laugh. Well, we see what happens with the Joker when you don't laugh at his jokes, so... No, but that's a fair point. It's a free market, right? If a comedian doesn't make you laugh, then he should not get paid. If a man does not work, he should not eat. If a comedian does not make you laugh, he should not get paid. I'll probably watch Sticks and Stones numerous times, but I'm biased. I like to laugh. So watch Dave Chappelle's latest special if you want. If it's not your cup of tea, don't. But avoiding for fear of being offended or going into it closed-minded that comedy ought not challenge taboo is a measure of the viewer, not the comic. My opinion is mine, though. It doesn't matter. You can do what you want. If you have a story. Oh, if it doesn't matter, and you can do what you want. Which I believe was the title. Yeah, Dave Chappelle's Sticks and Stones. It doesn't matter what I think. It's comedy. And it is comedy gold. Again, I do warn those who are of tender ear. It is full of swearing. And he ranges on the issues, so you're not going to agree with everything. I certainly did not. But I found most of it compelling and hilarious. So that is what it is. Thank you all for being here, for listening to my still small voice. Not my... whatever. Sorry, I don't have an outro. Like, subscribe, share. Thanks for being here. I'm Mike Miller. I will see you on the next video.